To me, when talking about trade shows and the value and what you can gain from the trade shows, I think it's more than just being able to see product that's showcased, and it's more than just meeting people. To me, it's a place to share ideas. And I think of a couple of examples, and one in particular was I had a situation where building these concrete slides, and I really, this was early on before many people were doing anything other than standard slides, and I had tried all different types of epoxies, and I tried all these different finishes to try to make the slide work in our environment, in the weather and the conditions we have in the north, in the Midwest, and you know, our region here, Region 5. And it took leaving the region and going to a trade show about as far away as I possibly could, it was on the West Coast, and seeing what someone had done there. And in this particular case, now this was many years ago, but what the solution was at that time was someone had used tile, and they tiled the slide. And I had never in my wildest imagination thought about using little penny round tile and tiling the slide. And that one idea I brought back here. I fixed all of the slides that we were having issues with because we had all these epoxy issues, and they were yellowing and chalking and peeling and all of that. And I went back to 6 or 7 or 8 projects that I knew of that had issues with slides, and we stripped them off and we tiled them all. The problem went away. What and when would I have learned if not at that trade show? Seeing something different. It wasn't someone introducing themselves and their product. It wasn't seeing that new snazzy way of doing something. Instead, it was there were some pictures on the walls that were being showcased. There were some awards. There was something I was looking at, and wham, there it was. There was an answer. I couldn't have predicted that that's why I was going, but that's why I invested, and that's why I went. It wasn't that snazzy new pump that someone had to offer, which I've seen that as well, and there's been cases where I've found product specific to me. But at that time, that was a solution. Well, now we roll years later, 10 years down the road, and we look at other solutions. Tile has worked, and we've gone on to use glass tile, and now we're looking for something new and something different. And there's all kinds of new epoxies on the market that are highly caustic and really nasty things, but once they're on, they work really well. But you run all these risks of vapors and everything else, and I don't really want to go that route, but I'm ready to sort of move on to the next thing. And we go, lo and behold, to a Canadian show, and we see a whole new product on the market, and look at it and go, is that something that we could use for slides? And the guy says, funny you should ask. We just wrote a deal with SeaWorld or someone, and we're going to do their slides for their penguins or something. He had this whole story of what they were using the product for. And it opens up a whole nother arena. Here's basically a powder coated, flamed on plastic finish to be used as a slide. Now, where would I have seen that otherwise? Unless I was specifically looking online and I had all the search terms I could have needed, how would I have found that product? I found the product because I was there. And the funny thing was, you had remembered seeing me just a few weeks before at another show, and I didn't understand what the product was. I had seen they had resurfaced part of a spa, and all I saw the product was as a way to resurface a fiberglass spa. Take one of those old junky fiberglass spas and turn it snazzy, new and different, and granite colored again. But I didn't see the slide until I saw him at a show a few weeks later in a different country and looked at it and said, I remember seeing this. You were in Vegas. He goes, yeah. I said, I remember seeing this and looking at it because you had that spa, and we started talking about it, which led to, geez, we could use this for slides. And then he told the story about using it for slides at SeaWorld. Without that repetitiveness, just because you walk through a show and you see something, it doesn't mean you really see and understand it. Sometimes it takes some time. That's a relationship that is well worth having, because that solves all kinds of different issues that I've been looking for solutions for, that the internet would not have found me the solutions. The internet would not have given me a guy to talk to say, this is exactly how we do it, and this is how much we've done of it, and here's our results, and here's the history, and here's the process, and here's all the pitfalls along the way, and here's how we modified and changed, and here's all of that. The internet would have never told me that. I could stand in front of someone and say, hey, let's sit down and talk about this, and have that opportunity. So the importance of shows and the importance of being involved goes way beyond just looking at product just talking to people, just meeting other people in our industry, not just going to dinners, which it's always fun to be able to go to supply dinners and all of that. You get to meet up from other people from other places, after parties and things. We've been able to go to a lot of those. That's all fun, and that's a small piece of a much bigger pie. And that bigger pie, you don't know what it's going to be each time you go. You can plan and think, this is what I'm going for, and come away with something completely different. Yet, if you weren't there, you'd never see. Another particular thing that I learned at a show that I would never have imagined learning at a show that has changed fundamentally the way I look at the world. And the show, there was a presentation about glass tile, and the guy, there was a guy that was presenting, and he was talking about tile and talking about how they do all these cool colors and why they do what they do. And he presented this idea on color theory that related to everything in the world, and it brought all of my artistic past to the forefront and gave me an exact answer as to why color works the way it did. I could never have found that looking anywhere else. I could never have imagined that there was a simple solution that I can solve every scenario. I can solve the problem related to color because of this simple technique that I didn't even know existed. But it exists in a really small world. It's a very private thing. It isn't shared to the world because it's something that designers can use. It's something that we intuitively know once we put the science behind it. If I had not had that at a show, I don't think, had not seen that at a show, I don't think that I would have gone on with the understanding that I do about how I put together what I put together, because that allowed me to really understand form and function with color and how colors work together. So those are just some examples of the importance of a show and paying attention and being involved and not expecting anything in particular because you have no idea what you're going to get, but I promise you will always get something if you go.